So I'm having a lot of fun recording these speakdoms, and I wanted to come back with one that I think is going to be really interesting to talk about, and one that may actually have a few follow-up videos to, because it's one of my favorite topics, and that is human motivation. Now, I've done videos about getting motivated in the past, speakdoms and things like that, but I want to break down the Abraham Maslow theory of human motivation, otherwise known as the hierarchy of needs, because I feel like this is a very interesting concept to present to you guys, because I know some of you guys know about this, but I think a lot of you guys might not, unless you study a lot of developmental psychology, and I have friends in that field, so I've always been interested in this aspect, and I do believe in it. I do believe in the Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs. So on your screen right there, what this essentially represents is this is what motivates us and the levels of motivation that we go through in life as far as the pyramid of true self-actualization. Now, what is self-actualization? Well, self-actualization is when you truly become what many call the word alpha. I think alpha male has been completely misconstrued by the public. I think people assume that an alpha male or an alpha person is like somebody who is always macho and gung-ho and drinks a lot and has a lot of sex, and that's not what an alpha male necessarily is at all, even though there are a lot of alpha males that have traits similar to that. That's not what it's about whatsoever. In fact, the idea of being alpha, being a male-only trait, is absolutely ridiculous. There's women who are alpha, there are gays who are alpha, there are trans people who are alpha. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation or your gender is. If you become self-actualized, you become alpha. So let's take a look at this, and I want y'all to really think about this because I think this does apply to us as people, as human beings. So essentially what Maslow's done is this pyramid is structured in a way to where it explains kind of what we need and in what order we need it in. So the very bottom, the way this works is we go from the bottom and we work our way up. So the very first thing on there is psychological. Now, don't get that confused. He's not saying psychological, he's saying psychological. Psychological is basically things that we need to live. Literally, we need to live. Food, water, sleep, shelter, air. Obviously, the most important things are oxygen and food and water. That's what we need to live. Literally the basic. But also this includes like shelter. In some cases, you can say things like air conditioning and things like that. You know, things like that. Depends on your where you live and your kind of environmental needs. That's the most basic thing. You know, if we don't have this, we strive to seek this out. Like, that's actually how this tree works, how this pyramid works. If we don't have these things, we motivate ourselves to get them. And the reason why this is at the bottom of the pyramid with the bigger sections, because every human being needs this. And then as we move up in the pyramid, less and less people tend to have these traits, but subconsciously we're all seeking these traits. You know, it's very interesting. Again, I love talking about the Maslow hierarchy of needs. So the next level up, once you have your food, water, shelter, is safety. Now, safety is a much more complicated thing. It's not necessarily like, oh, I don't have to worry about getting mugged. Safety is entirely based on mental, emotional, and physical safety. We're talking about job security. We're talking about, avoiding PTSD. We're talking about, trauma. We're talking about financial security, health. In other words, if we wake up in the morning and we feel at least mostly safe, like we're not always in danger of being hunted, which is how it was when we used to live in the jungles. We were always in danger of fighting animals. Nowadays, in this more civilized world, we don't really deal with that kind of stuff anymore, at least not people in, built up countries, or civilizations, that is. We don't really deal with being in the jungle anymore, even though I'm sure maybe some of you guys do, like Mr. Gohan 9000, but most of us don't. And that's where safety comes in. It's not so much just making sure you're safe, it's just kind of being at peace and just getting up, going to work, and not really worrying about being attacked, Now, obviously, if you have anxiety, that's a different story. You do deal with that, but it's not constantly something to where you're worried about dying. But there are people who have those conditions. Of course, this is just it's in general. The next step up from safety, when we're content with at least surviving comfortably, and that is love/belonging, otherwise known as social belonging, which is friendships, intimacy, and family. Obviously, not all of us have these things. There are people out there who don't have family. I, for one, the majority of my family passed away, and the rest of them are in Cuba. I have family, just not a lot of them here in this country, like relatives and things like that. I have friendships and I have intimacy with my friends. Relationships, obviously. This is essentially what this is. This is your feeling of belonging. This is why we have, ritualistic things that we do as human beings, like when you go to work and you talk to your coworkers on your lunch break, or when you go to church, when you go to a basketball game, when you get into a Discord call or whatever. When you do things, you go to conventions, when you do things and you feel like you belong and you feel like you're part of something, that's where this portion of the pyramid comes in, and I love this because there's obviously things that are going to push us down, like, neglect, people ostracizing us, making us feel like we don't belong. And I know a lot of you guys feel this way because I felt this way when I was younger. But eventually what ends up happening in life in general is that you do end up creating a little circle of friends, and that's where you get your social belonging. This does not necessarily mean that it has to be a large group. In fact, it's stated that it doesn't matter how big or small the group is. In other words, it does not matter how many subscribers you have or followers or any of that crap. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you're only going to really trust a small handful of people anyways. Small social connections like ones with family, intimate partners, confidants, business partners, those things are the most important things. We need to love and be loved sexually and non-sexually. That is pretty much what this is. And if we don't have this, we are constantly seeking it. And again, I keep saying that this pyramid is something to go by because it is. If I don't have someone to love or someone to give me love, I subconsciously am seeking it out. That's how we are as people. Even if I have a good job and everything, and I have everything secure when it comes to that, there's still that emptiness that a lot of us have, where we want to have a partner, we want to have, a friend to be there, especially when bad things happen. So that seems to be the next step up, because really most of us have these things. Now, the top two are, to me, the most challenging ones when it comes to human beings and reaching these levels. And a lot of us don't ever make it past the third pyramid, dude. A lot of people don't ever make it there. But the way that the hierarchy of needs works with personal development is that it goes up and down. For example, let's say that you're in phase 3, love and belonging, and you lose your job, right? And you get knocked down to the safety pyramid. You have to motivate yourself to find another job. So let's say you're married and you got kids and you lose your job, your number one focus is going to be getting another job so that your wife and kids are happy and there's food on the table, right? Well, the way it works here is you're still going to kind of have the love and belonging, but you're going to jump down to safety until you get that job. And then once you get that job and you're starting to get money and you're able to help out your family and pay the bills, then you go right back up to seeking the next level, which would be esteem. So that's kind of how it works, is you go up and down, because life will always throw bricks at you to knock you down. That's just how life is. But the way this works is it's never too late. It's never too late. The next one is esteem, which is basically ego or status needs. Now, I think the word ego is completely misrepresented by people, especially nowadays on the internet. It's quite irritating that people use the word ego and have no idea what it actually is, how it actually works, and the fact that all human beings have ego, because ego is a defense mechanism. It keeps us trying to strive for better and greater things. However, it's not the most important thing. That's why it's the fourth thing on the pyramid. Obviously, breathing, eating, being loved, having a job, having a roof, that's the most important thing. Those are way more important than this. However, the next step up is esteem/ego. Now, again, most people who are self-actualized at the very top, there is an aspect of ego, but it's not like they're egotistical people. A lot of them don't really believe that they're perfect beings at all. But when you get esteem and ego, it's important to us because it makes us feel like we are of higher value. Recognition, status, respect from other people, whether it be, and I'm talking about like real respect, not like phony clout chasing respect. I mean like real people, like saying, telling you how they feel about you in a positive way, being there and showing you that, hey, you've worked hard for this. We think you're a respectable person. And some people do constantly, like, there's people that have low self-esteem who are always trying to seek fame, glory, but it's not going to really help you build your self-esteem until you accept who you are internally. And that's what this is. It's all about accepting who you are internally for your flaws. And when you accept that, then you kind of naturally get up there to where you start to actually feel better about yourself. I've talked about this in my confidence video, where you know, a lot of people ask me about confidence, and it's like, dude, how do you get confidence? You win at things. You can use your ego to kind of fuel your confidence. That's, you know, it kind of is putting gas in the tank in a way, but you can't let it consume you to where you actually believe that your shit doesn't stink and that you're this special person, when all you have to do is show some humility and accept who you are and what your place is in the world as far as being important to other people. Then it naturally comes. That's just my perspective. There's different ways to interpret it, but really, this whole esteem thing is the need for self-respect, and that ends up building self-confidence, independence, and that feeling of freedom that I talked about in that other video I did, the other speak-them about why I work harder at YouTube and why I'm so happy. It's all about that freedom. And really, esteem is essentially when you can walk out in public and say, I am who I am, I love who I am, I've made mistakes, I'm not perfect, but I have true self-esteem and true self-respect. And then that leads to the final tippy top part of the pyramid, which is self-actualization, aka alpha, which the quote that I looked at states, what a man can be, he must be. In other words, this is when you have achieved your fullest potential and realization of that potential. Or, you know, some of you Dragon Ball fans could call this Ultra Instinct. Because remember, it's called the mastery of self movement. There is a tie-in to this. There's a very deep philosophical tie-in here if you're a Dragon Ball fan to this, where essentially when you hit this level, and I just want to make this very clear, from my understanding, we're not going to hit this level, a lot of us, until we're in our 40s, late 30s, sometimes even our early 50s. Sometimes you can achieve it when you're younger, but that's only if you're a true prodigy, and not everybody's like that. And there's nothing wrong with, like, if you're looking at this pyramid right now and you don't have an ego, and you're looking at it, well, you know, you don't have a big ego, and you're looking at it objectively and unbiased, you know, you see where you fit in, right? And you kind of maybe will motivate yourself to getting to a higher part of the pyramid, but understand that you might not get there right away. This thing takes years of going through trials and tribulations and, you know, things like that. Essentially, what this is when you are at this point seeking true happiness, whether it be finding a mate, whether it be having children, whether it be being the leader of something, being a leader of men and women, utilizing your talents and abilities to your best, you know, to your best, the best you can be. You know, some people really want to be great parents. Some people really want to be great at business. They want to be great at their job. Really, there's to hit this level, it's essentially when you've hit all the other levels and you are content with who you are and you become self-actualized, which is actually self-awareness as well. When you know your flaws and you actually can, for the most part, pinpoint when you're screwing up and fix it. And to me, I love this because it takes a while to get there, but when you get there, it is satisfying. And I'm not saying that I'm there, because I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't believe that I'm quite there yet, but I understand what it takes to get there. You know, some people want to be great athletes. Some people want to be great artists. Like, this is when you are, it's not ego, it's actual confidence. Like, I know that I'm a good artist. Like, people like Olympia, like Azure Nimbus, they know they're good. Ashan, artist that, if you're a Dragon Ball guy, you know who I'm talking about. If you're into these people, they know they're good. They know they are good at what they do. You can tell them they're good, and they're going to be very humble and say thank you, because I know these people relatively well. They're not going to be egomaniacs about it, but they know. Like, nobody can sit there and try to pull their punk card without having either them or somebody else step in and saying, nah, it's not true. Now, if you're really self-actualized, you don't even have to freaking step in. Because if you're really self-actualized and somebody tells you, you suck, you're just going to look at them and laugh and be like, okay, you might think I suck, but I know that I don't suck. I know that I'm good. And it is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I think that getting there, and then at this point also is when you start to help others. When you spend your time, you know, using those skills you acquired and the experience you acquired to help other people, to make their life better. And to me, that's always been, that's what I call supreme spirituality, right? And I don't mean like from a religious perspective. I mean like internal peace. And I'm not saying you're not going to have bad days and you're not going to go up and down the pyramid. You're going to have, moments where you do bad things on accident or even on purpose. We're flawed creatures. But at this point, you are mentally like in a state where you've gotten past all the BS in your life for the most part, and you're doing your best to pretty much just make the world a better place. That's what self-actualization is. So this is a great topic. I love talking about this, as you can't tell by the enthusiasm in my voice. Let me know. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I might do more videos on this stuff because I love it. I love Maslow. I love reading up on Maslow. It's my favorite psychological/philosophical proposition that I've ever read, in my opinion. So anyways, thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.